Kia ora and welcome everybody. My name is Eddie Rakanui and this is Big Life Mindset, a podcast where you can get tips on how to be uncomfortable, grow, and love life more. I've coached winners of the Westpac Bank Innovation Award. I've created online courses to help build your confidence at work. I've mentored people in career and relationship changes, and I regularly put myself into uncomfortable situations so everyone can benefit from the results. Today, you're going to hear about the benefits of putting yourself in some challenging situations, structuring your day as well, and why partying afterwards can be so much more rewarding when you do. Have you ever woke up on a Sunday morning with a hangover and all you can think of is, oh my God, why did I do that again? We get to a Monday morning and someone asks you what you did in the weekend and you feel like it was wasted because you partied too hard. Well, today's episode is going to not only help you beat those blues, but it's going to give you something useful to talk about in that chit-chat period in a Zoom meeting or at those water cooler conversations. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of a flashback to Saturday the 7th of January. So it's only a couple of days ago. And I've got a friend's birthday, a friend's 40th, that is going to take place in the evening. It's actually going to take place from 11 a.m. onwards. But my involvement in that party is not going to take place until a later time. I don't know when, and I'll explain why later. What I do know is that my friend, whose name's Tate, is going to be having his 40th birthday, and everybody's going to be converging at his house, and then they're going to jump on a party bus, and then they're going to go drive up north a couple of hours, and they're going to do a pub crawl on the way back. Now, that's super appealing to me. However, I also have a lot of other things that I need to and want to tick off before I do that. Some of those things include rocking up, having an ice bath, hedgehogs, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, being a dad, and we're going to check on some hitchhiking as well. So with that in mind, what I opt to do is rather than get on board in the bus and kind of start that early day session, is pack my day with as much as I can before I get to that party, knowing that if I do all that during the day, man, I'm kosher. Like everything is sweet because I've ticked off a whole bunch of productivity stuff, self-help stuff, put myself in comfortable situations, all that kind of thing. So there's just like super growth happening before I even turn up to the place, which I'm loving and I'm looking forward to. I wake up in the morning, and as many of my listeners are already aware of, I do an ice bath in the mornings. And it's not just myself either. My wife is doing it to help with her arthritis. And our second eldest is also coming along for the ride every day now, which is awesome. It's such a cool bonding exercise. Now, straight off the bat, if the prospect of jumping into a bathtub full of ice cold water is not appealing, you're not alone. I tell myself that I love doing this thing. I've mentally forced myself into enjoying it. But not everybody has to jump into an ice bath to get a sense of achievement that can come with it. You might just jump in the shower, and the next time you jump in the shower, instead of turning it up and cranking it up as hot as you normally have, take a quarter off, take 25% of it off. Enough so that you can feel it. Enough so you're like, oh, actually, I prefer this much hotter. This is a little bit uncomfortable. Like, take that. That's a win, by the way. That could be your first win of the day. If getting out of bed in the morning is the first win of your day, take that one as well. But if that's part of your daily routine, managing to get out of bed, maybe eat breakfast or whatever, and then having an ice bath or a colder shower, like if that's your first win, man, chalk that up because that's significant and it's going to pay dividends throughout the rest of the day. And if that's not even your jam, man, switch coffee, choose decaf, choose a different flavor, whatever it might be. But do something early on that can act as a win for you. Not something I'm entirely comfortable with, but I did it anyway. Cool. I've got the win. Tick. So I jump in the ice bath, and unfortunately, it happens to be one of the coldest ones that we've had forever, because we are getting our hands on a lot more of these ice packs that I've talked about, and I'm not going to carry on about them anymore. But this thing is just it's bloody freezing. It's bloody freezing. So I get in there, and it does all the things it needs to do. It makes me super present. I can't feel my ankle or my shoulder, which have been giving me hassles lately. I'm awake like I could not believe. Like I'm hyper alert, and I love that. And of significance is what I just described. That's a massive win for the rest of the day. No matter what happens for the rest of this day, I did an ice bath. I put myself in this uncomfortable situation. I know I'm going to grow from it. So I get out of the ice bath. Cool. Lock that one down. The next stop for me is quick breakfast. Can't even remember what it was. But then I know before I get to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I have to drop some hedgehogs off at the vet. Now, the hedgehog story, I'll just quickly sidestep for this bad boy. The hedgehog story came about because a few days ago, we could hear a lot of rustling down in the garage. And not just in the garage, it was in that crawl space part, in a garage, like deep under the house, all the spiders and whatever else lives down there. And at first, and I thought it was a rat, and a big ass rat. So first I thought it was a cat. Then I thought it was a rat. And then after setting some rat traps, I could hear this rustling in a plastic bag, and I had to get this pole out. It was actually a hoe. I know I'm immature, but it was a hoe. It was the handle and the bit at the end, and so I used the bit at the end, and I'm reaching under as far as I can under the crawl space. I'm trying to pull this bag towards me, and I'm trying to open up this rubbish bag without getting whatever's in there to jump out and attack me. And the thought of playing rugby league, rugby union, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, that doesn't even register on my fear radar. But the thought of a rat just jumping out and attacking me, or I don't know, running up and biting my face or something, that's a thing. Which is strange because I used to have rats as a kid. I think we had 98 at one stage. That was just population growth out of control. This is why kids shouldn't have rats. Anyway, that's another story. So pull out this bag, and I see this little beady little face looking at me, and it's a hedgehog. It's a baby hedgehog too. It's not, I don't know if they're born quillless, needleless, whatever the things, the spikes on the back. I don't know if they're born without those and they grow them, but it was fully formed. And I pull it out, and oh, look, it's a little baby hedgehog. That's so cute. And I put it into this container. And then I hear more rustling in the bag. And I empty the rest of it out. And there's another little baby hedgehog in there. So I take that one out as well, and I put it into the container. And so that happened a couple of days previous. And so in the morning, right, we can't just let these things, they look quite sick as well, to be fair, because they've probably been starving, living under there, and, no food or whatever. And so I thought, right, let's take these hedgehogs somewhere. And Debbie very kindly volunteers me that I need to take them out to Newtown, which is near where I go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu anyway, and drop them off at the vet. I'm like, all right, that's cool. So ice bath down, breakfast done. Right, we're taking some hedgehogs to the vet. I get the hedgehogs to the vet, and I learned probably more about hedgehogs in that space of, 50 seconds than I had in the previous 5 years. Did you know that mother hedgehogs can abandon their young? Didn't know that. So I dropped the hedgehogs off to the lady, and, just have a bit of a chat with her about them. And she actually thought one was dead too. And she prodded it, and then it took this big breath in, and then, it looked so happy. It looked so happy just to be, hanging out. And so anyhow, job done. Pat myself on the back a little bit, cool, we just saved some hedgehogs. That's pretty cool. I don't know, but I think they're rodents. They can not rodents. I think they're considered pests. But hedgehogs, they're pretty cute. Anyhow, and so straight after that, I'm off to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, BJJ, for those who aren't familiar, it's kind of a mix or a blend of wrestling and judo, not the WWF or wrestling, like Olympic kind of wrestling like that. So it's a blend of those two. And yeah, it's really close comfort stuff. And by that I mean, close contact stuff. And by that I mean, you can have somebody lying on you, and if you want to get out from under them, you have to get them off you. And you'll very quickly find that if the person knows what they're doing, you can't. You can't. It's always really, really hard, put it that way. And so you have to be comfortable in being uncomfortable. Sounds like a bloody cliche or a bumper sticker, but true story. You've got somebody on your face with their chest and sweat all over you, and you can't breathe. If you want to get out, you've got to get yourself out. So good luck with that. And just another little insight on BJJ and like wrestling and judo and all those is that it's kind of like chess. They'll do a move, you counter, they do a counter, you do a counter, and ultimately the person that has the last counter move is going to win. If you can't counter that counter move, you're going to be submitted. So I go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu I time myself. I'd normally like to go for a little bit longer than an hour, but I go for about 50 minutes. And in that 50 minutes, I am rolling or competing with a different person every 6 minutes. So every 6 minutes, you compete with somebody. Then there's a 1 minute break for you to gather your breath, find your next partner, and then restart the clock. 6 minutes, 1 minute, 6 minutes, 1 minute, like that. So I crack out a few rolls. That's what they call when you're competing against someone. Have a few rolls, and you're doing your best to not be submitted. By being submitted, it is a person puts your body into a position where if you don't say tap or submit, then they could conceivably break that joint or choke you and put you to sleep. Sounds like a lot of fun, eh? People pay good money for this, by the way. So I do the rolls, and I do my best to not be submitted. But I'm also very mindful that this injury that I've got with my ankle I'm really cautious about it because I've had too many experiences at BJJ where people have just like attacked it and it's injured and it won't heal. And so I kind of go on the defensive, which is not my usual MO. It's not my usual modus operandi. I normally like attacking. I've got more of an attacking mindset. So that's something that is useful for me as well. Like straight away, I'm in a situation and I'm doing something quite different to what I would normally do. And, it's making me think. It's forcing me to think. Now, I'm a recently minted purple belt. It goes white, 5 stripes blue, 5 stripes purple. And I just reached purple. I had a guy who's a white belt, and he submitted me. He got me into a position where I tapped, said, yep, stop. And as soon as you tap, the other person lets go straight away. Like it's a golden rule. But he got me into a position where he submitted me and I tapped. There's a big ego thing that comes with having a colored belt and not being submitted by a person that's a belt color below you, or worse, 2 or 3 colors below you. I think part of that ego comes from the hierarchical nature of it. It would be akin to, I don't know, being an adult and then a 5-year-old explains something to you and they're right and you're just wrong. And you just think, oh, I should have known better than that. How dare they? But anyhow, this guy taps me. His name's Timon, who I've only just met. And I didn't feel salty about it at all. Don't get me wrong, I have in other times. I've definitely had the bruised ego. But on this one, he got me. He got me clean. And, I just thought, oh man, that was a good learning for me. I thought I thought I could be a bit more casual about it. But when you're putting yourself into an uncomfortable situation, often it's going to require all of your faculties to get yourself out of it. You're going to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and then just be Mr. Cool and Mr. Casual about it, then you're probably going to get what you deserve. And so I got it. Like I said, I didn't feel negative about it at all, which was quite nice. Hopefully I'm maturing. So I think I may have had one or two more rolls after that. And right, I'm going to call this quits because I know that I've got this birthday to get to. And before that, I want to see the kids and Debbie. Cool. So I wrap it up, and that takes a lot of discipline for me. Sometimes you're enjoying something so much, you just think, don't worry about the time. Let's just do this thing. And I love doing that. Don't get me wrong. Like, just be present in that thing. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. But there's sometimes where I just have to draw a line and say, actually, I need to pull the pin on this in order to maximize this other opportunity later. So that's what I did. So I get home, shower up, have some light lunch, hang out with the kids, just talking trash with them. Actually, it's a lot of fun. And depending on the mood that our kids are in, man, sometimes it can be just the case of pushing a car down the hallway, or putting a blanket over my head, and like we're pretending that we're a mobile fort, like a castle that's moving around, Howl's Moving Castle. Anyhow, so I hang out with the kids for a little bit, and then gonna make this move to start hitchhiking. Now, Tay, my mate, his birthday is the bus trip is going to take them about an hour and a half, hour and 3/4 up the coast, and then they're going to do a pub crawl back. And the intention is to make 3 or 4 stops, 4 different pubs. I have kind of guesstimated that they're going to be at a pub about 40 minutes away at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't start hitchhiking until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, just before 1. Time gets away on me. Things take a little bit longer. Anyhow, and it starts raining, and it's windy too. Well, it's called Windy Wellington for a reason, folks. I live in Wellington. If you know Wellington, you know the wind. I don't know about Chicago, but come to Wellington. So, bless her, before Debbie drops me off where I'm going to go hitchhiking from, she said, actually, do you want to go back and get your pants, your wet weather pants? Because I was just wearing jeans and a hoodie, jeans and a t-shirt at that stage. And I was arming and ahhing, and I thought, you can't really be bothered going home, blah, blah, blah. I thought, no, okay, it's a good idea. So we did that. And man, she saved my ass. Because, like I said, by the time not so much by the time I started, but not long after I started, and it was coming in sideways. Not heavy, but it was still coming in sideways. And so, cool, sweet as. So I get out under the bridge, which is my favorite heading north destination. I go under the bridge at the roundabout near McDonald's and Johnsonville, 056, and I'm like, sweet as, let's rock and roll. I'm there maybe, I don't know, we'll say 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. And then bang, this car pulls up. Cool as, man. And when I go to the car, there's a guy in the front and his partner, she gets out and climbs in the back, which is really cool. And here's an observation as well. This is I don't know. We'll give it a label like brown privilege. Okay, we'll call it that. He's brown. He looks Māori. She looks Māori. She gets out of the car. Ordinarily, it's just like, oh, hi, thanks. Like just a wave, get in the car. But, we kind of look at each other. Her and I are standing outside the car as she's going to get into the back seat. Her and I are looking at each other, and we both just lean in to give each other a kiss on the cheek and a hug. It's like it was just like this implicit thing, like, oh, cool. We're just, I don't know how to overstate it. It was like, well, she's brown, I'm brown, and it's like, this is what brown people do. And that's not our overgeneralization, man. It's just my experience, right? And so I get in the car and, I turn around and go, oh, hey, bro, my name's Eddie. And he's like, hey, brother, it's Kevin. And so, cool, we're off on the road. They're only going up about 15 minutes up the road, 10 minutes up the road to Porirua. But I'm like, right, that's further than where I am right now, and it's closer to my destination. Let's do this. Because in my mind, my intention is to catch that party bus somewhere on the way back. Like however long it takes me, ideally, I'll be able to catch them after they've done 2 of the 4 bars, or catch them at the 3rd of the 4 bars, pubs. So I'm trying to race north while they're coming back south. Cool. We set off driving and we're talking maybe, I don't know, a minute, 2 minutes tops, and then the conversation of weed comes up, and I was like, do you guys want to blaze? Yeah, sweet. So I whip out a J, we have a blaze, lots of laughs. And then they go and drop me off at Porirua train station, which is dope. It's not a great place to be if you're hitchhiking, but in terms of getting closer to my destination, brilliant. So I get out at the Porirua train station, and the wind is really cranked up, and I'm like, right, I've made progress, I'm high. This is life, man. I'm high, and I'm high on life. So I put myself in the next situation where I'm standing just off the motorway and throw the thumb out again. Once again, I'm only there for a few minutes, a little bit longer, maybe 5, close to 10. And old mate Aaron turns up. Car pulls over, and I jump in, and there's a young guy, maybe I would say he's in his early mid-20s maybe. And if you wanted an ethnicity, I would guess New Zealand European. And he is on his way home. He's got a whole bunch of coffees and everything on the seat. So I'm like, oh, cool, I'll hold them. And off we go. He and Aaron does a lot of work for Arise Church. Big shout out to Aaron for picking me up, man. I mentioned it as well. So I really appreciated that, bro. He and I are driving. He can only take me about another 10 minutes up the road. And that's cool, man. I'll take whatever I can get. And so we're often driving and just chatting away. And about 7 minutes into the drive, probably less, and then yes, poof. And it was more the feeling on the car rather than a noise or anything, a bit of smoke. But it sounds like the brakes on his rear wheels locked up. I don't know jack shit about cars, by the way. So he could have told me that it was the steering wheel, and I would have gone, oh, yeah, that sounds reasonable. Now, I don't think he was doing this because he was trying to get out of dropping me off, because he was literally only going like 3 more minutes up the road anyway. But there was enough smoke coming out of the car, and it was clearly in need of some TLC. So we pull over at the Parramatta Bridge, and I get out. And I feel bad for the guy, man, because, you're in a car that's broken down. No one wants to be in a car that breaks down, right? But he tells me he's a car guy. He knows a lot about cars. He bought that one for $500. It's just no skin off his nose, but he just can't get me any further up the road. I'm like, man, that's cool, bro. That's all good. So, he and I bid each other farewell. And then I start making my way north. I walk to Mana, and I actually struggle getting out of Mana. But here's a really cool situation that happens in Mana, is that I go into the BP that's on Mana Esplanade, and I see a guy, and him and a mate walk into the shop. I go to get some water. He's kind of young looking dude, hooped earrings. And he says, oh, no, and as he just finishes at the counter, he turns around and goes, oh, hey, bro, are you going north by any chance? He said, nah, heading the other direction. I said, oh, that's cool. And he's like, oh, sweet as. That was it. I buy my bottle of water, I turn around, I walk out the shop, and here's his ute that's got his boat on the back of it, and he's got a couple of people in his car, have stopped outside the door. He comes out, and he walks up to me, and I said, oh, hey, bro, what's happening? And he said, nothing, I just wanted to check. Did you need any money? Oh, man, I was blown away. That was amazing. I mean, I was like, no, I'm good, bro. I hitchhike a lot, and I'm heading up north to catch up with a mate. I really appreciate it, but I'm cool. Thanks so much. And he's like, oh, that's cool. I just wanted to check, in case you needed any money or anything like that. And I was like, nah, thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate it, but no, I don't. And so he goes out and they drive south, and I go and stand on the northbound. I want to give a shout out to that guy as well. I think the license plate on his boat was 3J165 or 3JI65. If you know that guy and you know that boat, please mention this to him, because that was brilliant what he did. And I don't need other people to reinforce my opinion on this. I have a deeply held opinion that the world is packed full of good people. Here was another example. So anyway, so they drive off into the distance, and then I'm waiting there, and I'm kind of stuck in Mana for about half an hour, which is a lot longer than you want to be stuck somewhere. And especially, when it's becoming time critical. And then I get picked up by another guy, and he says, man, I'm only able to take you about 2 minutes up the road. Oh, sweet as, man, I'll take it. I had actually, in that half an hour, I just checked the train timetable. I'm like, man, what's more important? Is it having lots of hitchhiking journeys to get to where I'm going? Or is it, now that I've already had a couple, I just need the outcome, which is get to where I'm going, whatever method of transport it takes? Train sounds like it's going to be a few minutes afterwards, whatever. If I have to, I'll jump on the train. I jump in this car, and he wasn't lying, man. It was literally 120 seconds, if not a little bit less. I was in the car, and then I was out of the car. But, I got closer to my destination. And where I get out, it's a horrible place. If you know Plimerton, if you know where Groves Road is, if you know where the Planters Garden World or whatever it is, just before you get to Whenua Cemetery, I was there. It's not a good place to be hitchhiking. Anywho, I am, and that's what, we're going to turn this into a success. So I'm there, and I'm having to move around a wee bit, trying to find an ideal location. And I do this reasonably cheeky thing, and I do apologize for being an inconvenience to people. But if I see traffic lights, I push the traffic light thing to stop to allow pedestrians to cross. And this is totally self-centered. I get it. I 100% get it. But I push that button to stop the traffic so that people have a longer opportunity to make eye contact with me, and I can build up a relationship with them on the side of the road rather than if they're just zipping through. So that's what I do. And then a guy pulls over in his ute, and man, this dude's crack up. He's pretty cool. I hope he's listening as well. I can't remember your name, brother. But I apologize for not remembering your name, but you definitely made a positive impact on me. He pulls over with the car, his ute, and he has to do a nifty little piece of driving too. And I get in the car, and he's got one of his elder sons in the front. I think he's he probably looks about 15, 16, I don't know. and I think his son's name's Hamiora in the back, so I'm kind of sitting beside him, and we just start chatting away straight away. Like, as soon as we're off, boom, just conversation flowing, just laughs, that kind of thing. As we're driving, he doesn't have a fixed destination where they're going. They're looking at finding a spot to go fishing. And I tell him about what I'm up to, tell him about the podcast, and tell him about the destination that I'm trying to get to. And initially I said this place called Paikokariki, which is pretty much the second to last pub that the crew are going to be at. And then that kind of conversation unfolds. And then one of the guys from the party calls me and says, oh, yeah, we're still at this earlier pub. So do you reckon you can get to Paraparaumu, which is further north? I'm like, I don't know about that. I'm in a car. We'll see where we go. And then the guy who's driving obviously overhears the whole conversation and says, oh, so where do you want to go? And I said, oh, Paraparaumu, which is even further north, as I mentioned. And he said, oh, cool, I'll take you there. Oh, man, that's so dope. That is so dope. So, not only do I get this really cool conversation, an insight into the lives of, dad and two kids in the car, but I'm getting closer to my destination. And as we get closer still, he says, oh, whereabouts? And like, where he could have dropped me off and where he ends up dropping me off are two totally different places. Like, where he could have dropped me off, I would have still had to somehow hitch another ride to get there. But he takes me right to the pub. He takes me door to door and helps me reconnect with this whole party atmosphere buzz, the 40th birthday that's unfolding. So yeah, man, if you're listening, brother, thank you so much again. I really appreciate you taking that time. I appreciate the conversation, the insight into where you're at in life. I hope this is fuel for the changes that you're hoping to make in your life, brother. I really do. Thank you so much. So I get to the pub. It's called the Pine Tree Arms, and I don't know if I queued up a particularly exciting arrival, but in my mind, I'm like, right, I'm making a scene here. So as I open up the door, the prodigal son has arrived. Talk about rate yourself, eh? Oh gosh. And there's a whole bunch of people outside, it's like hugs and laughter and high fives and all the rest. It was awesome. It was such a cool environment to walk into and to add value to as well. And a whole bunch of people that I haven't seen in donkey's years. People from school, people that I've interacted with at sports, rugby, whatever it might be, whatever the setting might have been. Because this guy Te Tavita he's a bit of a man about town. He gets along with a lot of people. It's hard to find a bad word about him. He's one of those guys. And so getting to the pub and seeing everybody again, man, it was just like getting two big buckets and pouring them straight into my bucket. It was bucket filling, funnily enough. It was cool. It was very cool. I really enjoyed that moment. Oh, and I also caught up with, just quickly off topic, a lady who is Debbie's stepsister's mum. Yes, I think that's the connection. Who I haven't seen. We haven't seen each other in 24 years or something. And she just shoulder taps me and says, oh, Eddie, what are you doing? I'm like, holy cow, when you get those little moments, completely unexpected, so out of the blue, and you're already on this endorphin high, this dopamine high, or whatever the bloody thing is, just adds more to it, just adds more to it. So we were at this pub, sink a few drinks. Apparently I had to play catch up, which is, I'm not normally a fan of, but I've got rubber arms, so I do it anyway. And they were on this bus on the way back home. Now, because the crew have taken so long at these previous pubs, instead of going to the final pub and then onwards to a barbecue at a person's house, they just go straight to the person's house. Grab some beers on the way home, and we'll lock that in. Now, despite knowing a lot of people at this event, I also don't know a lot of people at this event. And when you go from, for many people, meeting somebody for the first time in a social setting can be quite difficult, to say the least. It can induce anxiety. It allows people to feel under pressure, like they've got to perform or do something. They've got to fit some kind of standard or mold. And so they have a negative reaction towards those. I also get that sensation. True story. I understand what that sensation feels like. I've had it numerous times in my life, and there is some sort of process happening in my brain that I'm overcoming in order to break that down and get the positive out of that interaction. Looking back earlier in the morning, where I talked about the ice bath, or just not having your shower up as hot, or trying a different flavor of coffee. Looking back to that moment and recognizing that that was a significant win for my day, I overcame that challenge. I can use that as fuel for breaking down that interaction that I'm going to have with somebody that I've never met before. It might not be instantly visible or transparent, or you might not see the line of sight between the two. But being comfortable in uncomfortable situations is like a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it'll get. And so for me, and I would suggest anybody listening, is that the more you can find those situations where you're uncomfortable and you increase your levels of comfort, the more you're going to see how that can be used in more than one situation. As I often say, my comfort level, let's say my hands, if you can't see me right now, let's say I've got one hand and it's about shoulder height. Let's say that's where I'm comfortable. And let's say my other hand is above my head, and that's where I'm uncomfortable. That bit in between is my growth. That's my stretch. The more I fill in that space, building up my comfort levels, eventually I'm going to get to a point where my new uncomfortable is much higher. And so anything that I used to find uncomfortable before is now well within my comfort zone, and I have new horizons to attain. That, I believe, is a secret and a superpower that everybody can do to build their confidence. Cool beans. So, go into the party zone and I'm having conversations with people that I've never met before, and I'm looking for things to connect about. And often when you're looking for like chit-chatty things to break down the ice, look for the things that you have in common. Now, we are all on a bus, and we are all on a bus for one reason. This guy's 40th birthday. So I've been gifted this commonality, and so have they. Because if they're feeling uncomfortable about having conversations with people they don't know, particularly some guy that's just randomly turned up hitchhiking after they've all built an experience together prior to that, then having that shared commonality around why we're there is the low-hanging fruit. So there we go. We're on the bus, laughs, songs, chit-chat, whatever you want, and we get to the house and it's more of rinse and repeat, a lot more of that. And Man, I meet some super cool people there, man. Very cool people. Uh, yeah, I learned a lot too. There was one lady, Penny, and and her husband Andrew, actually. Cheers, buddy. Who I found after I was talking to them. It's a terrible thing to do. You shouldn't like get your phone out, but I got my phone out to write things down. Like, oh my god, that's really interesting. That's so that's I'm really enjoying that kind of stretch that they're putting on my brain. Penny was talking about, her and I were talking about resilience and building resilience in young people and children. Barty and I were talking about other podcasts and books that are helping people have the tools for personal development and the like. And so, this is all right down my alley. This is the stuff that I love learning about and listening to as well. By the time it gets to the speech time, which is starting to get a bit late in the night, we've all had a few drinks, and I'm definitely in the moment, right? I'm enjoying the moment, but also I just every time someone says, "Oh, so what'd you get up to today?" When I cast my eye back and I think, well, I got up, freezing cold ice bath, hedgehogs at the vet, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, being a dad, hitchhiking, that beer that I've got on my hand, oh my God, like the sweetest beer you've ever had. So yes, the night goes on as you'd expect. Probably I don't reckon I have too many beers, actually. I feel like we pull the pin. Where you reach that stage where you think, if I have one more beer, this is going to turn. Like, this could turn for the worst too. Or I could just have this incredible night on top of this. But, you know what I mean. But I reached that stage, and one of my besties, Anna, she says, we're going to get home. Her and another one of my besties, John Ross, like, we're going to go home. I'm like, right. Can I go home with you guys? If you guys can drop me off now, that would be brilliant. Because then that's going to, I'm going to put the full stop on this day and not overcook it too much. It's well cooked by anyway, but let's not overcook it. So they do, and I wake up the next morning, and surprise, surprise, I got a hangover. It's not from hell either, but hangovers is just one of those things where, despite knowing why it happens, you still think, oh, why did that happen? How did that happen? Why me? Woe is me. So I wake up on Sunday morning, and back to one of the purposes of this episode is that when I wake up, all I can think of is I just want to lie in bed and I just want to die a little bit. That's all I want. I don't want to do anything. I just want to chill. Now, I can have a lot of guilt about not doing anything and just kind of suffering in silence. But because I know that the day before I was action-packed from beginning to end, I just brushed that off. Like, actually, you've done enough for 3 days, bro. Take it easy. Lie in bed. Chill out a bit more. I could say that was the end of it, but it wasn't. I'm a dad of 4 kids. I'm also a husband. We look after mum at home. So, the thought of not getting out of bed and just saying to myself, you've done enough is one thing. But the reality is, bro, you got to get your ass out of bed because somebody's got to go change the baby's nappy. You got to entertain your son who's 4 years old and he is like loaded with testosterone at the moment. Sort out our other daughters, whatever else it might be. And then ultimately I end up having to go out and do shopping and all the rest anyway. So, it could have been one thing, ended up being another. And I feel like I won both ways. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me again today, folks. I really appreciate that. If you're gonna get on the booze, on the piss as we call it, cool. Enjoy it. Make sure you're present while you're doing it as well. Like, be there. Don't be somewhere else. Like, be mentally there while you're at it. Enjoy it. In my experience, it is going to be so much more fun and so much more enjoyable during that period and the fallout after if you've loaded up your time beforehand doing something that is growing you, entertaining you, informing you, educating you, whatever it might be, you'll realize, you'll taste that, man, when you go to have that first glass of wine, that first sip of the beer, you'll feel that, you'll know it. So I wholeheartedly support your idea of going out and having a good time. Chuck some stuff in before it, man, and you will be amazed at the difference it makes for you. All right, thanks again, everyone. I'm not even going to bother asking you to click follow or subscribe because I don't even know if that works. What I would like to point your attention to is I provide coaching, as I've mentioned at the start. So I coach businesses and I coach individuals with both life and business etiquette. Reach out to me, use one of the links in the show notes, and I look forward to helping you out in that way. All right, until then, bye for now.